these are the sort of headings that you have to choose for synopsis writing. If we talk about a lot of institutions, for their ethical approval, they all have a synopsis template, the template that you have to follow. So these are the headings. You have to make a title, introduction, literature review, objectives, like what exactly you are going to find out, what's your hypothesis, like is this true, the null hypothesis, and all those things. Methodology, is it like, in methodology you have to answer a few questions. What is going to be your sample size? What is going to be your study setting? Like, are you going to do a single center study, like in a one hospital? Is it going to be a multi-center study? Is it going to be an online study, online questionnaire survey? And then sample size, study setting, your type of study. Is it going to be a cross-sectional study? Is going to be a case report? So a lot of things that need to be answered in methodology. And then for all the introduction and literature review, this should be backed by references. Okay. Now coming to ethical review. Once you have drafted your synopsis, the next step is to get the ethical review. It has different terms: ethical review board or institutional review board, which means if you are affiliated to an institution, wherever you want to do the study, you have to get approval, ethical approval from that committee of that institution, which means that your research, it's sort of a green signal that your research does not have any problems, and does not have any ethical issues, and you can go ahead. There are some studies, for example, cross-sectional surveys, which do not involve any patients or which do not involve any interventions. You can just get an IRB exemption or ethical review exemption, which means that because your study does not involve any patients, you can just literally bypass the process. But that also has a form in most institutions that you have to fill the form and get the IRB exemption. That exemption or approval letter is very important for you when you are going for publication, because that tells that it's basically, it proves the originality of the research. Then comes the point of data collection and analysis. We will be doing separate sessions on each of these steps in detail. Today's session is just to give you a brief touch of everything, how to start a research. Data collection and analysis, first and very important thing is consent. You have to take the consent, obtain the consent of the participants. Whatever type of study you are doing, consent is of prime importance. Now, data collection can be done on electronic surveys, Google Forms. One of the publications that I shared earlier, my publication I shared earlier, I literally did it via Google Forms. So Google Forms, it is a very useful, application. You can just literally make a survey, and you can send a link to people, and it gives you responses in the form of graphs. So you have to do literally nothing. It just gives you the graphs. Maintain confidentiality. Try to keep the data anonymous. If you don't want, if most of the researchers, we don't need names of the patients, or names of the participants, so avoid obtaining that data, which you do not need or require. And sometimes, if you are thinking of doing a research, what you can do is, if your data is good enough, then you can bring out multiple publications from the same data if you have done a good data collection. Statistical analysis is a complete different world. We will try to do a separate session on this. Then comes manuscript writing. So manuscript writing is so you have done a very good job. You have done a good topic selection. You did synopsis writing. Like you have progressed very, very far. Even if your study is very good and you have not written it very well, it's just like presenting something. You do a hard job. For instance, you have seen a patient in A&E, you have managed the patient very well, you have done a very nice operation. But if you're not able to present what you have done, then it's a failure. All of your effort is going to be in vain. So manuscript writing is very important. And now again, literature review, which you did in the beginning, is going to be very helpful. You will need to read some more researches based on your results, but the first literature review that you did is going to be helpful for this manuscript writing too. Second is, when you do the manuscript writing, so almost half of your manuscript is already written when you have done the synopsis writing. So don't take synopsis writing as something very, and less importance, because most of the time your introduction especially will stay the same. What additional you would need to do in manuscript writing is your results, your discussion, your recommendations, and all those things. So if you do your first steps very well, then they are going to help you later in your manuscript writing. Now there are a few terms: consistency, coherence, cohesion. So whatever you are writing, it should be linked. For instance, it should not appear that you were discussing about something A, and then all of a sudden you have jumped to Z. So you have to write your manuscript in a stepwise process. When readers read your manuscript, they should get a feeling that every sentence is linked to the other sentence. Okay, sorry. Um, just give me a second. Can you see my screen? Ali, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes, it is
Yeah.
visible. It's a
Sorry.
manuscript
Sorry,
writing on the.
I had a bit of trouble. Okay. So consistency, coherence, and cohesion. This all means that whatever you are saying is linked. You're not jumping from one place to another. And this comes with practice. There is one thing that's really helpful is technique of paraphrasing. For example, if you think that there is an article which says exactly the same thing that you want to say, paraphrasing is really helpful. What you do is you just copy that paragraph that you think that is very close to what you want to say. Just copy that paragraph into the word file where you want to write and paraphrase those sentences, which means change those sentences by changing some terms. So you should be very good at having knowing synonyms. What you can do is and I do it a lot, that for example, there is a sentence that the importance of feedback in medical education. Now, I know I want to write the same sentence, but I want to change it a little bit because I don't want plagiarism. So what I will do is I will find the synonym for importance in Google. I'll just Google the synonym for importance, and it gives you very good options. And then I can write the significance of feedback in medical education. So the same thing you have written by paraphrasing it. So you're not plagiarizing anything. So paraphrasing is very important in manuscript writing. Then you have to decide about your themes and sub themes before you start writing a manuscript. Is that okay? I can hear some background noise. Okay, so you have to decide your themes and sub themes, like what main themes you are discussing and what are the sub themes.
We can see that you're stuck on a manuscript writing page.
Is it okay? Let me share it again.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So themes,
can see.
sub themes, and now then comes referencing. So referencing is very important. It is advisable to have latest references as possible. Your references should not be older than 10 years. Exceptional cases are when there was something very old but it still holds value. Then you can a few of like 2-3 references can be older than that. Try to have as much references within last 5 years. Using our referencing software is also going to be very helpful. We will discuss deal with all of these topics separately. This is just today and brief overview. Then formatting is very important. How you format, if especially when you are submitting for a journal, read the guidelines. Sometimes they require double spacing, they require alignment. So all of these things, it's very easy to do in Word. Once you start doing it, you will be used to it. Okay, there are some tips and tricks. So this is very helpful. First is collaboration and coordination. So a lot of things can be done with teamwork. Do not try to do things solo. And I can give you an example. Last year, I was in need of research papers, and I asked one of my colleagues at my workplace, like, if you are doing any projects, I will be interested in. And to my surprise, he said, yeah, I'm in the middle of something, and you would be able to help. And I helped in writing a few bits of that article, and within few months I got a publication which was PubMed Index. So go approach, seek for opportunities, seek for collaborative projects, look for opportunities, and hunt for opportunities. Take people on board, try to have teamwork.
Alisha.
This is not something that you can do alone. Second is confidence. Anything, this is very true. This is very true. Anything can be published if you know how to publish. So on my workplace, where we were having a discussion about the publications, and one of the registrar was telling, like, we used to have a colleague, and he was such a colleague that if even if he speaks, a publication will he will deliver a publication. So it's not that, and you will see that some people have got loads and loads of publication. It's not, it's because they know the art of publication. They know how to write, they know how to publish. So keep your confidence that anything can be published if you know how to. Then consistency. Don't give up, keep doing it. So consistency means you should be consistent in your work. uh don't leave it. If one journal is rejecting it, keep sending, and one day it will be published. Continuity, this is very important, because in research, if you have frequent breaks. For instance, I will give you again one of my examples, that I submitted an article for publication, and they send you a lot of revisions. And if you are doing revision timely, then it's quicker. But if you do it, like, leave it for 1 month, then, because now everything is lost, you will have to start from scratch. So keep the continuity. I know it's very difficult when you are working, but if you dedicate like 2 hours in a week, I don't think that's a big problem. So if you dedicate 2 hours in a week that you think, and for this you have to make your goal. For instance, I have made a goal for myself that I need at least one publication every year. If you just say that to yourself, I need a publication every year, and you remind yourself again and again, and dedicate some time. So it can be 2 hours in a week, it can be 6 hours in like 15 days. So dedicate some time to research. And the last thing is critical thinking. Read as much as you can. Keep reading, you will get good ideas, your academic writing will improve, because it's like a skill. So input and output. So if you read, you can write well. If you listen, you can speak well. So I think that's the end. We will take up questions now.
So you can write new questions in the chat. I have a few questions that has been put in the chat from our viewers. So the first question is that for cross-sectional studies, do we need to take permission from IRB?
Yeah, so that's what I mentioned, that there are some studies where you have an option of IRB exemption, which means you might not need to attend a meeting. So how the IRB is done, that you submit a form, there's a big IRB form, you have to fill that form, and then you have to attend a meeting in front of the council of that IRB, and you have to present your synopsis, and you have to give the answers. I think with IRB exemption, you don't have to go through that meeting, but you have to fill the form. And I would highly suggest get an IRB, either approval or exemption, because it makes your research look original.
Next question is, what is the difference between electronic survey and Google Forms?
I think it's same. So
Same.
electronic survey, which means anything that you can do, you're doing on electronic media. Social media is a blessing for us today. So you can literally use your social media platforms for the data collection. And Google Forms is, so there are a lot of softwares that you can to use for electronic surveys. Like for example, monkey survey, you must have heard of it. I've not used it at all. I have been using Google Forms, and that's really helpful for me. So you can use any software for an electronic survey.
Next question is from where you need to get your IRB if you're not a part of any institute.
Yeah, that's a very important question. There are some independent IRB mm, institutions, there some sort of companies, I would say, that issue your IRB. There is one in Pakistan I'm aware of. I can share the link on, if you inbox me on the page, I can share the link.
Okay, next question, how to initiate a journal club.
Okay, so depends if you are in a faculty or if you are a trainee. If you are a trainee, go and speak to your faculty. If you are a faculty, go and speak. So you must be working in some sort of setting. It might be a ward, it might be some sort of setting. So you speak to your senior colleagues, speak to your colleagues, and say that, okay, let's start a journal club, and you have to take the responsibility. I remember when I was doing, my training, you have to you have to volunteer. People will not be interested in starting journal clubs because we don't understand the significance. So you would say, okay, don't, that's fine, I am going to start, I am going to present in first 2-3 weeks, and then when there is a trend, people will start joining up.
So I would like to add something on it. For example, you can pick a journal, for example, the Lancet or the Surgeon by the Royal Colleges of Surgeons of Edinburgh, and they have quarterly publications or monthly publications, and you can select topics and assign to a person, or you can be the first person to present it, and then you can initiate a chain reaction. You can have monthly meetings in which you present the article and then there is a discussion or that on that article. And picking a journal is very helpful. You just pick a journal with a high impact factor, and that should be it.
And there's one more thing, Ali, I would add. Like, if you start a journal club, so if you start a journal club and you do it proper way, like you send invitations to people, you send reminders, you maintain an attendance, you record the presentations, you keep a record, then you can use it as, as a role of management, as a role of leadership. So it is, you will get something from research. That's one thing. But in your portfolio, if you are maintaining a journal club, then it can be added as a quality improvement project, can be added as a leadership in your portfolio.
Thank you. Next question is, can you give us some idea about meta-analysis?
Meta-analysis, I'm sorry, I've not done it, and I have no clue about meta-analysis, and sorry about that.
No worries, thank you. There's another question for paraphrasing. Can you copy paste things into ChatGPT and ask it to rephrase?
I am not a techno person, to be honest, and I have not used ChatGPT. And there's one more thing that I would advise you, that while I was doing my postgraduate certificate, so I shall be. So there is one thing, whenever you submit your assignments, they are checked for plagiarism. Okay, so yeah, they should not score like more than 12% in plagiarism, which means that it should not have same words as published earlier. Now, because of all this AI thing, the second thing that they do, whenever you submit an article to your university, they are going to check it for AI. So there are now softwares which will check your article for AI. So I would not suggest that.
Thank you. Next question is that, just give me a second, there are too many questions. So there's a viewer that has asked how and where particularly we have to look for the articles which are related to our field of interest.
So if you follow your field of interest on Twitter, then you will be able to get ideas. Then there are a lot of journals which are related. For example, if I am a surgeon, I would follow British Journal of Surgery, or as Ali mentioned, Lancet. So you have to look. There is massive amount of journals available. So choose a journal of your specialty.
And then next question is, for example, if you have an idea, if you have a synopsis, that you want to write, but you find that there is already a publication on that particular idea. So how to modify things or how to change the idea?
So there will always be publications on your idea. I don't think we are creating or innovating something very new. What you can do is, for instance, as I told you, like my work on struggles of motherhood in postgraduate training. This was well worked, well studied in USA. There are published articles about it, but I can't find anything in Pakistan. So I did work on that. I have another suggestion. For example, struggles of trainees or trainee supervisor relationship. There are a lot of things in Pakistan. I'm sorry if we have people from around the world, but my focus will be about Pakistan, because I have been from I'm from that region. So if in Pakistan the trainee supervisor relationship is not well studied, is not well established. So there are, even if the study is done in a different part of world, but it is lacking, the data is lacking from your own geographical area, then it has a potential.
Thank you. Next question, how could we check ourselves for uh, plagiarism before submitting it?
Okay, so there are softwares. Turnitin is a software where you submit your article and check for the plagiarism. Ideally, it should be less than 18%. I would suggest go for less than 12%. Now, how to access Turnitin? I think your institution should be able to get the access. Most of the public institutions have, with your institutional ID, you can access that software and you can submit your article and check for plagiarism.
A few of the viewers have requested that what are you planning further? There be any more sessions on data analysis or synopsis writing
Yeah, yes,
or
exactly.
audits or QIP?
Yeah, exactly. So what I am planning is to, we have done a brief overview of all the steps of research. What we will do is, because I'm not an expert of everything, so what I'll try to get colleagues who are expert on these subjects, and we will do a separate session on each of these steps in detail. Second, I am planning of something like a mentorship, like a one-to-one mentorship. So if any of you are interested in like starting a research, so we can allocate a colleague who is going to follow you dedicatedly throughout the project, in a stepwise manner.
Okay, thank you. And a few of the viewers I have basically they wanted to initiate an online journal club. Can you help us with that?
Oh, that's a really interesting idea. I love that. Really love that. Yeah. Why not? We can do that. We can do that on our platform. And yeah, it's amazing idea. We can definitely work on it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And hopefully, when we have sessions organized, and you are definitely going to plan on next uh, future sessions. So hopefully, you can share the details on your page.
Yes. And I would love to hear the feedback. You can just inbox me, you can email me, you can approach me. There might be delays in the response because there's a massive a lot of people are trying to approach, but believe me, I will try my best to respond you all. I think we can conclude the session now, Ali.
Yep, I think that should be it. Thank you so much for your time today. It has been really helpful for me as well.